Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member as well. Mr. Speaker, the National Employment Centre was established in 2010. And Mr. Speaker, within the National Employment Centre, there are three employment services, namely the Formal Employment Service, which caters for those looking for employment and work attachments in the local sector, the Fiji Volunteer Service, which looks after the graduates and retirees, and thirdly, the Foreign Employment Service, which looks after the labour mobility program in the ministry. Mr. Speaker, on the role of NEC in facilitating Fiji's labour mobility programs, I sincerely thank the Fijian government and the Australian government in strengthening our bilateral relations through the signing of the Buvale Partnership in April 2019, together with the New Zealand government's bilateral arrangement in 2015. The strengthening of our bilateral relations with Australia has enabled more than 500 Fijian workers, Mr. Speaker, to be mobilized from 25th November 2020 to this month alone, even when our borders are still closed, to work in the meat industries, agriculture, and recently the hospital sector in rural and regional Australia. In addition, post-COVID-19, Mr. Speaker, we have mobilized a total of 70 retaining workers to New Zealand in February 2021 to work in the horticulture and viticulture for the employment period of 7 months. Mr. Speaker, on the selection of Fijian workers to participate under the labour mobility program, the NEC has been working very closely with all approved employers to meet employer requirement and also ensure that our best workers are selected. Mr. Speaker, let me make it very clear. These labour mobility programs are employer-driven programs. There are requirements for selection that everyone has to go through, such as the medical fitness and later face-to-face interviews with the employer. For PLS, meat workers, the selection also includes testings for drugs. Mr. Speaker, all workers must have a clear medical and police clearance to allow for selections. Mr. Speaker, it is very important to note that whoever wants to be considered under the scheme should first take the first step, and that is to register with the ministry. Mr. Speaker, allow me to thank Ministry of Health and Medical Services and the team for stepping up to provide free COVID testing for all Fijian workers that are being deployed from March 2021 onwards. This follows the new changes, Mr. Speaker, in border requirements, and also noting the positive economic contribution that these workers will provide through the remittance back home. This is what you were actually talking, Honorable Gaboka, yesterday. Mr. Speaker, to date, we have 684 Fijians under the Pacific Labour Scheme. There has been deep acknowledgement from approved employers on Fiji's ability to fast turn around on the selection and deployment of workers, together with the containment of the pandemic in Fiji through its vibrant medical facilities and professional staff. Mr. Speaker, before I take my seat, I wish to reiterate that the Fijian government will continue to do its best to mobilize Fijians under the Pacific Labour Scheme and RSC to ensure that more employment opportunities are available for more Fijians to participate during this challenging time. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.